Hey everyone, Michelle here, the Brave Homeschooling Mama. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am a school teacher turned homeschool mom, and I have 2 kids, and I help new homeschooling parents by making videos about curriculum and day-to-day homeschool. Today I want to share with you just a couple of accommodations and modifications that I'm using with my daughter. My daughter has a learning disability. If you're interested in finding out what are accommodations and modifications and how I'm using them with my daughter, make sure you stay tuned. So for all you don't know, my daughter does have a learning disability, and she also have ADHD. So she learns everybody learns in a different way, and everybody's brain is wired different. So her brain is wired a little bit different than everybody else. So she learns in a different way. So I cannot do the same things that I might do for my son or some kids might be able to do. I need to change things for her. So what I've been doing, I am, for that don't know, I am a special education teacher by trade, by profession. I do have a master's degree in special education, and that was my my passion for many years. And then I decided to start homeschooling, and God gave me a child with a disability. So what a blessing that I'm able to help her. So I want to share with you what are accommodations and what are modifications, and just give you a couple ideas of the things that I'm doing with her. And hopefully, if you have a child that's struggling, if you have a child with a disability, this might be able to help you. So what is an accommodation? I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm giving you the right information. So an accommodation is when you change something and the way you are presenting the information to your child. So the child might be working on grade level, but you change a couple of the things. You change the way you present the information so your child can access the information better, so your child can be successful. So those are accommodations. A modification is when you change what you're teaching your student or what is expected from your student. Okay, so those are the the difference between the two. So I'm going to give you some examples of what am I doing for accommodations for her, and then I'll give you some examples of what could be a modification. I know it's kind of hard, and this is kind of more like school talk, but I think just for your child to be successful, sometimes you have to do a couple things that are a little bit different, so they can be successful with what they're doing, and they feel successful, and that's so important. So one of the things I started for science and social studies, and I've been trying to do this. And as a person that's trained in special education, I should have known better. But like I say, I am not perfect, and you always you want to try new things. And I've been wanting for me to read to her, and then she narrate everything back to me. I've been wanting for her to be able to remember everything I read to her, and I want her to tell me everything back. And she is struggling with that so much. I read a book about narration this summer, and we were gonna start, and she was just gonna get it, and she doesn't get it, and it's hard. And narration is also something that it takes time, but it's really hard. Reading comprehension and listening comprehension are things that are hard for her, especially reading comprehension. And so I might read something, I might read something to her and tell her to tell me about what she read, and she has a hard time. I ask her to read something on her own, and she has a hard time saying it back to me. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to change the science, curriculum that we're doing, because the lessons were too long and the language was difficult. So what I've been doing for science, especially since these lessons are short, so I read, to her. So I've been reading the lessons. Lessons are short, so I read to her a small part. And an accommodation that I'm doing for her. So I'm reading it to her. That's an accommodation, and I'm writing notes for her on the board. So the things that I feel that are important, the things that I feel that she needs to learn, she might not be able to tell them back to me or understand while I'm reading, but I'm writing them down, and we read them together, and then she's copying them on her notebook, and she's using those notes. Or we haven't done a test where I've been asking her to to read, study the notes, but she'll be able to. We're gonna start doing some of the quizzes in the book, so she'll be able to study from the notes. I've been letting her answer the questions in the workbook using her notes, or answer any questions that I give her using the notes that I gave her. So I'm accommodating to her. Okay, just kind of helping her access the material, access the curriculum, so she can be successful. So those things that I'm doing that for science, and I'm also doing that for history. So like I was saying, I know some of that me reading to her, that is an accommodation. I'm gonna have her, I want to be wanting her to read 3 novels. I told her I just want you to read 3 novels this year on your own, and they are so. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get the audiobook for her to listen to it, and that's also an accommodation. She'll be able to understand a little bit better if she's reading it or if she's listening to it and looking at it, and hopefully she'll be able to get a little bit more. So those are the books that she's doing on her own. We're also doing, novels, together, and I'm able to explain to her better, and we can talk about it. But I also wanted to read novels and classics on her own. So I'm going to let her do an audiobook, for that. So that's also an accommodation. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about some of the modifications. So you kind of change the curriculum for your child or change what is expected of her. So doing a lower level material if my child is in 8th grade, but I'm letting her do some things in a lower level. So we are modifying what she has to do, what is expected of her. So we are doing a workbook for, geography that she has to do every day, the 180 days of, geography. And she does a page every day, but this book is in a 5th grade level. So it's more at her independent level. She is able to work on it mostly independent. She has a couple questions of things, but we are modifying her work and she's able to access it because it's more at her independent level. Also for math, we don't do an 8th grade math. It's that she does have a disability, so we modify her work, and we're doing work in a different level. So we do, right now we're kind of still working on 5th grade level math, and that's okay. So we're modifying the work for her, and especially when we're homeschooled, we have the ability to do that without being embarrassed, without peer pressure, and without all everything that comes with that when you are in school, and just have to be real about that. So we are modifying her work, and she's able to work at with more success because it's more at her independent level. Other things that you can do, I'm doing that for math, for social studies, and for our grammar, just a little bit, a lower level. We're doing a workbook that she does on her own, and she does it one grade level below 8th grade, but she's pretty good at the grammar thing. So, but again, when you modify, when you have to change what is expected of your child, then that's, a modification. So these are just a couple of the things that I'm doing with my daughter just to help her be successful. Science and history it can be so frustrating for her when I ask her to sit down and listen to me read, and then I tell her, okay, so what did I read? Crickets. All I hear is crickets, and she has a hard time. So by me just accommodating for her and writing notes on the board and having her use those notes to study, or having her use those notes to do her assignment, I'm having an accommodation. I'm accommodating for her so she can be successful. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any question, post them below. If there's anything else you want me to talk about having, a kid with learning disability, make sure you post them below. Maybe I can come up, with a different video. I do have experience in the classroom, book experience for, that's what when I went to school for, and just, being with my daughter. And I'm not an expert, as sometimes I feel like I forget what I know, and to try to apply, to her and my son. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you don't follow me on Facebook and Instagram, make sure you do so for more homeschooling ideas and motivation. I will see you soon. Bye.